Hello everyone, I hope you're all keeping well. There has been yet another terror attack in New York City, this time injuring 4 people, but thankfully no one was killed in this attack. 4 people did sustain non-life-threatening injuries, however. And in this case, an improvised explosive device was used to carry out the attack. An IED. A pipe bomb for all intents and purposes. We saw this increase in jihadist activity recently throughout Europe, where police uncovered homemade bombs and bomb-making factories in residential areas. And that happened in Italy, in Spain, in Greece, a few other countries, Sweden as well, where we've seen an upsurge in the number of bomb attacks which have been happening. This has been totally unreported, of course, in the mainstream media in the West. They've refused to report on this, but bomb attacks have become very common in Sweden. I can't imagine why, but that's something that we're not being told about. But I made the point a few months ago that we were going to see an increase in frequency of terrorists attempting to use explosive devices. And that's, I think, what we are seeing now. People were skeptical about this, but I made that point. Now, prior to the Manchester attack, I also pointed out that that would be something that we would see again. And unfortunately, that was the case. But with the Manchester attack, we saw how devastating these attacks with bombs can be. Okay? But again, as I say, thankfully, in this case, no one died. No one lost their life. Right? But it could have very easily gone the other way on this. And as I say, we should all be quite concerned about this as well, because it does mean that we are going to see more of these types of attacks, or attempts at least, take place over the coming few months and possibly years. Now, the suspect in this case was named by police as Aqaid Ullah, who was originally from Bangladesh, and that will become relevant in a second. But he has admitted to the fact that he was inspired by IS. He is a jihadist. He is an Islamic terrorist. There is no getting around that. Although the media will continuously keep trying to pretend that that is not the case. Okay, we'll see the mainstream outlets, particularly the hard leftist outlets like CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, lie through their teeth as they typically do, or try and omit things or what have you for as long as is possible, so as not to report the truth about this. Of course, at this point, nobody believes them anyway, but that's neither here nor there. Media credibility is through the floor at this point, but anyway. So, why is the connection with Bangladesh relevant? Well, because on November the 13th, I made a post on Facebook. I think I posted it on Twitter as well, but I'm going to show you a screenshot of this post that I made on November 13th, and this was in relation to the crisis in Burma. And I said the following: what's happening with the Rohingya crisis is something most people don't understand, because at that time, by the way, let me just interject and say this, or you can go ahead and read this off the screen at the moment whilst I speak about this, but at that time, the mainstream media was trying to pretend that the Rohingya crisis was solely because of the Burmese. Okay? And they were pumping out that propaganda and fake news. So I had to counter this nonsensical narrative, because it was nonsense. Anyway, let's carry on with the post here. So, what's happening with the Rohingya crisis is something most people don't understand. Islamist terror factions from Bangladesh flooded into Burma and attacked the Burmese people, killing and raping indiscriminately. The entire country of Burma has been in a state of civil war since 1948. And the media would have you choose sides. There are no sides, only pure chaos and acts of evil. By the way, this is the same media that praised Aung San Suu Kyi and applauded her when she received the Nobel Peace Prize. I was busy criticizing her because I saw the pure, unadulterated psychopathy in her eyes. Russia has a lot to do with the current conflict. And in this case, by the way, I'm talking about Soviet Russia, as you'll see. Back in the Soviet days, the KGB was busy funneling arms to terrorist groups inside Bangladesh. They even threw their support behind Mujibur Rahman, who was a prominent political figure but also connected with Islamists and had very strong ties to the communist Soviet Union. So here we are today, and no one knows what to do about this mess. So I pointed out the connection between extremism, particularly Islamic extremism, and Bangladesh, the country, and how far back that link goes. And I did this for a reason, because I had been reading reports about the fact that Bangladesh was experiencing this uptick in radicalization. So we see, just 2 short months later, that this most recent attacker, this jihadist, is from Bangladesh. It's just an interesting point, don't you think? Because people there get very quickly radicalized due to the funneling of arms and everything else that was going on, which is why they were destabilizing Burma. They were able to destabilize Burma in recent times. So, I mean, it's... And this nonsense, where the media tries to drum up support for these Islamist factions by portraying them in a human light, by humanizing them, whilst dehumanizing the people pushing back against them, that's just something I find interesting as well. But anyway, as I say, in this case, in this attack, no one died, and very few people were injured. But my God, it could have been much, much worse. And this is my fear, this is my concern, that they could succeed with these types of attacks. And if they do, we're all in very serious trouble indeed if more of them start happening and they can easily and quickly manufacture explosives and they start doing these, what's referred to in the intelligence community as prick and bleed operations. You might not have heard the phrase, but they do this frequently. In India, for example, they've tried these same tactics, prick and bleed. And it does work. That means to stage small attacks, but targeted attacks. So that's something we should keep our eye on. Anyway, I'll leave this video here for the time being, but I just thought I'd share my thoughts on that with yourselves. And let us keep pushing to speak the truth, regardless of this bane of censorship, where we're being forced, in a great many cases, not to speak truth to power, not to confront the deep-seated corruption that is set in, that enables these kinds of attacks to actually happen because it doesn't allow people to name the problem. Anyway, take it easy, take good care of yourselves, and God bless every one of you. Thank you for watching.